Well, my name is John Edwards. I was born on the 28th of the 1st, 1942. I was born in REWITI at the old homestead in REWITI with my grandfather, grandmother, and my Auntie Beth was our district nurse, and she helped out with me when they had midwives, like my grandmother. And then my mum had to go by train to Hounsville to register me. I was not registered as Ngāti Whātua, and on my birth certificate it's called Mahaki. Yeah, well, back in my time when that church was there, would have been there in the 40s, I don't know, because I was born in 1942. I used to go to Sunday school about 1945, 46, 47, and it was the Anglican church, which was run by Mary Short, and my father and myself and my brother Leon did barbed wire fence around it, and we were gifted the wire and the concrete post by McLeod from up south there, where we used to do fencing, and he gave us that material for us to do around our upa.
And that was Farmer McLeod?
Yeah, it's up in Southhead.
Yeah.
Where I used to work up there doing cattle stops and fencing. Back in those days, it was only barbed wire. It wasn't any number 8 wire or anything like that. It didn't come into the 80s, right back into the 50s, late 50s. So, yeah, and it just, as the years went on, it changed, and Ratana Minister came up, and before we knew it, was all changed to a Ratana church, and then we ended up going to Woodhill Hall to have our Sunday school and our Bible class. And that's all I can say about that. We'll go to, and I'll show you This here, that wasn't there. Used to be a bell in there. Now you can't get in there. It became a Ratana church.
It became a Ratana church?
Yeah, it still is. Now they still left it as, it's all been locked up.
So everything around is not in use? The marae,
yeah.
The church?
I took my wife in there for the first time and the last time. And this is what they did. They took that out and put a Ratana symbol up there. Never used to be all of that. It used to be something else, different pattern. But, you know, but as a Ratana priest, and I didn't believe in Ratana. Yeah. And so, like I was saying, there's something wrong about some of these things, but hey, I wasn't here. You know, things changed when I was away in the Aussies, and I was over there for about 45 years. So a lot of things happened then. And then when I got back, I had to come back, you know, because I was given the mana, more or less, like my auntie said, you're the rightful person. You know, I didn't even know what that meant. So, you know, until now I know exactly how things are going now and why everybody is sort of coming to me, because I know so much, you know, about the whole of REWITI, you know. For Basilou Paul's father, he was well known in the army with the Maori Battalion. As far as I know, I don't know too much, but he was very popular. He was an entertainer, and he was announced on on the radio, and he went missing when Lou tried to find his father, what happened in the war days, and they called him the lost soldier. He came from, from the original chief. When Lou Paul and I was doing the claim and we went up to Oahu, Lou Paul only mentioned his father and they stopped it within 5 minutes of the hearing.
So you won?
And we won our case, and that's when everybody wanted to know who the hell was Te TAOU, and they all started to jump and try and get registered and do all sorts. Yeah.
So it was a tūpuna blessing because Lupul's dad is a tūpuna to Te TAOU, and it was a victory.
Yeah, it was a big victory for us, to be acknowledged.
Thank you. Now these are the people who passed away in the Brenduans, and look, Te TAOU.
Yeah.
Te TAOU.
Oh, okay.
So it's got the hapu
Yeah.
engraved within the stone. It cannot be changed.
Yeah.
So there's no Ngāti Whātua there.
Just after the Brenduans,
Yeah.
the 2 visiting books had just disappeared from the Marae. So there was a lot of cover-up for us, I can see now, because we used to, even when we were kids, we used to have to sign it
Yes.
with Mary Short.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
so
saying
They
that
had Mary Short signatures and everything.
when we did go, when Waitangi day came, when my grandmother had arranged for the culture group to perform up at the Waitangi Kaipara, we had to pick the bus up in Halswell. And when we got there, we saw this brand new Bedford railway service bus was there. And apparently there was a phone call to say, wait till the bus come from Auraki or whatever. And when it came, the first thing my grandfather said to me when he saw it, he sent us home. He sent me, my brother and sister, and kept my father's second wife's daughter, Lubia, and sent her on the trip. And we got sent home. And then my grandfather, the day they were on their way back, said we'll go and meet them. And we got to Wellsford and saw a guy out, and we thought, well, why are we stopping here? And he says, all over. So we went up there and came back, and that's when we set up all the hall up at REWITI Marae. Yeah, just after the Brenduans, when we came back to REWITI, my grandfather told us to go up and set up everything before all the bodies came back. So me, my father, and quite a few of the families in REWITI all a post up there. And then we found out the army was going to do everything for us, which our Marae couldn't cope with that sort of thing. And then we set it all up for them, and when the army came, they set up a massive big marquee with everybody laid the bodies in there, and there was hundreds of people. There was help from Auraki, Nui, all the other Maraes. It was the biggest funeral I've ever seen in REWITI as a young fella. But from all that, it all went well, right up to the cemetery and how it all went. And we were the kids that, we were the ones from Rewiti, did all the dishes. We washed dishes. That was all that was our job. And that's all we had to do, was wash dishes. Right, all this line is the family. All that one there is the Branduran cages. Have a look. This is my mum, who died in 1956 with sugar diabetes after the wedding. And this is the Branduran, the ones that died in the Brandurans. The Brandurans, back in my time when they first met, I was 21 at the time. My grandfather, my brother, we all went into Halswell and we thought we were going to drive on the brand new railway service bus. And then when the old map bus came up with a wooden framework, my grandfather sent us home and let the rest of them. At that time, my father and that, we drove my grandfather up to the Waitangi after they finished up there, and that's when the accident occurred. He said it was all over. And then we came back from there. And that was the reason. My grandfather was a very knowledgeable man. He adored us, and his favourite person was my sister Lorraine. But my nan and her daughter Olivia, Celia was my granddaughter. This is where they were buried.
Wow.
It was one of the biggest funerals that Rewiti ever seen. And it was run by the army because we couldn't do it. Our marae was too small. The hardest part was he couldn't get me to Iraqi to sign up as Ngāti Whātua, and I said to him, I'm not Ngāti Whātua.
Yeah, TE TAOU.
And I stood up and said, I will stand here as a Kaumatua, and if you are my Kaumatua, I will bless you. But you already said I'm a close cousin to you. And all the older men all walked down. Now I just pointed to the door because I knew that wasn't them.
Yeah.
So I got abused and everything after all that. I feel sorry for our marae, and I feel sorry for our upa being changed to a Ratna church. It was very hurting when we found out, because we had to move from here and go to Whistle to the city. Because all I know that all the other three maraes like Harinui, I forget the other two ones up north, like to Rewiti's marae and Auraki, which made the 5 maraes, but the main marae of the whole 5 is the mother marae is Rewiti. The old marae used to be sitting on where they have the new building. It was pulled down and dragged over to where the Kaumatua houses was. The new one, I was on that project and I was told that they were going to burn it down. One of the members was going to burn it down. So I threw it in, and it was only a few years after that, quite a few more years, and then it got built. And that might have been around about 2015, 2018, I'm not sure, but I must be just guessing that. And they fenced it all off for some reason, I don't know, and they were going to do carvings, and it hasn't happened, and today it's still empty with the fence around it. So that's all I know. Place in Rewiti, no. And how the Pākehā, which I recall when I was doing some research, how they spelt Rewiti and put an H halfway through it. Instead of being R-E-W-I-T-I, the Pākehā put R-E-W-H-I-T-I. I'm trying to think why they did that. Represented Ngāti Whātua in the 312 clan. Why did they have to fight us if they knew we were Te TAOU? Why fight the one thing? You think we would all went together, but we didn't. They were fighting us when we were fighting them back. So every time 312, which was run by Te Hukafu and his clan from Oaki, and he's saying that he knew about Te TAOU, then why did he win against us?
Especially when they, even with the Brindewin bus tragedy,
Yeah.
and the memorial plaque that was put on, it says Te TAOU.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure Dame Glavish and, Native and the Ngāti Whātua whānau members of the victims, I'm pretty sure they, didn't they erect that memorial plaque? So the Te TAOU was on there, so why fight Te TAOU?
That's what I'm saying. Why fight? Why argue? Why did we need to go in and put the TAOU back up there on the marae?
So Ngāti Whātua had taken Te TAOU off the marae?
That's what Kafu and Kaipari and the rest of some of the men around here took the name off there in the Gazette, and when I met up with Lou, and I went, what's all this? So we went and saw the Gazette, showed them the proof that Marae was Te TAOU. We got back through the courts.
And not only was it Te TAOU, it was the main prominent marae.
Because that's the mother marae.
The mother
That
marae.
was the home, more or less, the mother marae to the whole 5 maraes.
And it was just you and your cousin that had to stand up for Te TAOU.
Yeah.
Just the two of you standing up for your whole hapu.
Yeah.
And you won in court.
Yeah, and like I said, nobody in here believed about Te TAOU. That's what I'm saying. Not even Te Hukafu knew anything about Te TAOU. Martha Kafu didn't know nothing about it.
But you didn't know anything about Ngāti Whātua because you were
No,
born,
I didn't know nothing about Ngāti Whātua.
because you were born before the others, weren't you?
Yeah.
So in your time it was just Te TAOU.
The Oaki Marae used to be a small little version. It got burnt down, I think, 3 times. They built it, but it was only a small place. And when I left and came back, they had this beautiful marae. And I found out it was the Auckland City Council apparently built it.
Why would they build it?
Well, there again, I really don't know. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about my era when I was back at school and to now. Why did we have to learn about the Queen and not have to burn it? And I was thinking that my grandfather, grandmother, my mum, my dad, they must have known about Ngāti Whātua, but they didn't tell us. We never ever been told our tribes or anything. The only thing was that we weren't allowed to speak Maori. We had to learn about the Queen and Prince, and that sort of puzzled me now why, you know. And I feel like if our parents had taught us the Maori way, I think this whole thing would be a different way of life. But now, here I'm come back, and I'm fighting for the rights of the land, you know, which was taken away from us. So, and finding out where our Te TAOU warriors scampered and lived up the hills and all that, you know. So I feel really proud that I've started to learn about my own place in Rewiti, you know, and how the Pākehā, which I recall when I was doing some research, how they spelt Rewiti and put an H halfway through it. Instead of being Rewiti, the Pākehā put Rewhiti. I'm trying to think why they did that. Why, you know? So there's a lot more in it. And I can remember when my grandfather was talking about the land, which I have now some papers of it, how he was trying to feed his 5 children. Lions arrived, I think, around about 1870, I think, or something, or 80. But it was about 1880 something that the Lions actually came to Rewiti. And then they married into people like the Kendalls. Now I've just realised Lions had created buying land off Maoris and ended up taking Rewiti right down to Waimaoku, which part of Waimaoku used to be the Kendalls family.
So you also said that the Lions used to lease the land and then all of a sudden they owned it?
Yeah, this John L. Lions ended up owning it, and then they built this massive big house down by the railway lines, and that's where the Rewiti station was at the time. It was a big house, and like then I really didn't know, but they didn't know too much about the Maori race then, you know, about the Black Point.
Tell us about the Black Points.
The Black Point was, we didn't really know too much until later on through history about the warriors and where they actually stayed up on top of the hill above it. And the reason they were up there, whoever attacked them from other tribes had to jump over things to get to them. And they had the advantage of coming down on top of them. By the time the race got to them, they were too tired to
Climb the hills.
climb the hill and fight back because they had no energy. Where the TAOU warriors had all that energy and came back down on them,
Yeah.
you know, and fought. And then all the ones that were there got slaughtered and ended up in the creek of the Kaipara.
Yeah. So who got slaughtered? The ones trying to invade?
Well, it was all different
Yeah.
tribals, you know, from Waikato, you know, and different.
And to
I
this,
can't really, I know Waikato was one of them,
Yeah.
Ngāpuhi and that, but there was several other
invasions and
invasions,
things.
yeah.
So the Black Water area, like, is still there today, isn't it?
Yeah, still there today.
And it's like clear on both sides.
Yeah, it's clear on both sides and
On the Kaipara River.
on the Kaipara River.
In the Rewiti area.
and yeah, and just right on the point, it's all black.
And it's always been black, hasn't
And
it?
it's always been black, even right back to the, back into from the 40s to the 50s
So
when I was swimming there.
And you said your family member went down into that,
No, none of the family went down there.
but the diver.
Oh, my Harley
Yeah.
used to be a diver for doing pilings for bridges. And we were talking about it one day, and he came down with these bottles and took a dive, and he reckoned he never reached the bottom.
And that's so that the listeners can get a general idea, because Kaipara is a big area and the Kaipara River is so long. Which area, how would you describe where this black point is? It's right next to Rewiti.
Yes, right behind the Rewiti station.
Behind the Rewiti station. Wow.
Yeah, and it's right beside the flax factory,
Yeah.
when there was the flax factory down there back in those days.
And now, you know, you used to collect your kai around here, your eels and your watercress, and fetch your fresh water from that stream that's getting destroyed.
The stream, yeah, that's getting destroyed, which